your vehicle. Huh. Huh. Yeah, whatever. Anyway. Archaeologist, welcome back to another video. Today is going to be a short video about a question, or I guess two questions that I see all the time. How do you get to a project and who pays for that transportation? The simple answer is that you get to a project the same way you get to any job. You drive. And as far as who pays for that, you do. I mean, let me put it to you this way. If you just got a job as a barista at Starbucks, you don't go to your manager and ask, hey, you gonna pay for my flight or for a plane ticket for me to like fly here? Or are you gonna pay for my Uber or something? They go, no. You know, that's what your salary is for. And it's the same thing for field archaeologists. It's just like any other job. I feel like the reason why people ask this question is because there are situations where people do get paid to drive out to a project, but those are very specific circumstances. The primary exceptions are when you are driving a company vehicle out to a project, or you're driving a rental that the company has rented to be used on the project, or you're using your personal vehicle as a work vehicle, i.e. you're not just driving it to the project area and then hopping in a company truck on work day, but you're actually using it as a work vehicle in the field, basically. So in cases where you're driving either a company vehicle or rental, the things to remember is that whether you use those vehicles or not is mostly logistics. For instance, for the past year, I was working for a company based out of Southern California, and I was based here in Reno. And they gave me the option of driving to the office and picking up a company vehicle and then claiming hours to drive back to the project area. But the thing is that that would have been a 10-hour drive to Southern California and then a 7-hour drive, maybe 6, 7, 8 hours drive back towards Reno. You know, and in that case, it just wasn't worth it. Like, the math just doesn't pencil out. More importantly, I only had weekends off. I was a Monday through Friday job, and that would have been like, my weekends basically would have just been driving back and forth as opposed to actually having time off. In the case where you are using your own vehicle as a field vehicle, the thing you want to remember is that companies usually don't pay for gas. And they also will pay, there's actually like a flat rate that they pay for mileage. And a lot of companies will also pay for hours. As far as mileage goes, a lot of companies have exceptions. For instance, I had to take off the first 50 miles, since 50 miles was considered a local commute. You know, not a big deal. I mean, a 3.5 hour drive is actually quite a bit of mileage. So I didn't mind, you know, losing 50 miles. If you're driving a company vehicle or a vehicle that the company has rented, they're basically paying you for hours that you drive out, and usually get a gas card. So they're effectively paying for gas. And whether you choose that option depends more on logistics than anything else. The rarest thing I've ever seen, and I mean super rare, like I've only heard of it in a handful of instances, is where a company will either pay for your rental, and it's not a field vehicle, or they'll pay for a plane ticket, which happens on projects where either A, they've talked the client into footing the bill, or alternatively where the company is just super desperate. Like, that is an incredibly rare thing. And like I say, you can, if you really want, ask if a company will do that. But I mean, most of the contracts that a lot of these field archaeology companies get are like, they're basically the lowest paid person on the totem pole. Like almost every other company will be paid more than the company you are working for. And if you got a large crew, like maybe a dozen or more people, it's like you'd go bankrupt trying to like fly everyone out or pay for everyone's rental vehicle, especially if those rental vehicles are not field vehicles. Which leaves the obvious question: what happens if you want a job or get a job that's out of state and you do not have a vehicle, or a reliable vehicle, or maybe you don't have your driver's license? I know I've known more than a few archaeologists who have had suspended licenses. In such instances, there really aren't a lot of options. I mean, you know, plane, train, whatever, bus. But the thing is that don't expect the company to pay for that. In fact, if you ask, expect the person on the other end of the line to hang up on you. Maybe not that mean, but basically, yeah, it's like going back to the Starbucks example. You know, that's what your paycheck is for. That's how you get back and forth. That's how you take the bus to your Starbucks location to work. And it's the same thing with archaeology. It's just like any other job, except that you're working in another state. Which brings up the obvious question: do people always just work locally then? And the answer is very rarely. I remember when I first got to Reno, I got to the parking lot. And the thing which I noted in the parking lot is that with the exception of the permanent office staff, not a single person on the project, other person I should say, on the project was from that state. Everyone was from a completely different state, sometimes from completely different ends of the country. You know, it's just part of the job. Driving long distances, you know, not getting hours, not getting drive time, not getting mileage. It's just part of the job. You know, I've always been thankful, you know, when I work close enough to an office to like check out a company truck and drive to a project area, but it's not something that I count on, nor do I count on a company renting a vehicle for me. So hopefully that answers a few of your questions about how you get to a project area and who pays for it. I mean, technically, I guess if you think about it, if you want to be really pedantic, the company does pay for it, but it pays for it in the form of your paycheck. So the company pays for it with your paycheck, and you pay through it with your paycheck. Anyway, hopefully that was moderately useful. You know, as a moderately useful answer to a question that I see all the time. You know, to me it's just like common sense, but obviously it's not. Anyway, if that was useful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and have a good day, junior archaeologist. Ooh, that's actually not a bad catchphrase.